Hiya, I'm Hayley, and this is going to be the most dramatic video I've made so far. Now, the aim of my channel is to keep things positive and just to get a conversation going between young people. But lately, I've seen a lot in the news and I've heard from various people. Just in light of recent events, I feel like this is an issue that I would like to address here on this platform. And last night I sat down and I wrote this whole verbal essay, I suppose. So if you see me glancing down, I'm just reading it. And I like to just preface this by saying I am probably in the most privileged position I could be at the moment. So if this is coming from someone in my position, my heart just goes out to everyone who doesn't have the opportunities that I have. Well, I'll get into it, shall I? So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The issue that I want to address today is this growing toxic gap between generations, and particularly the villainization of young adults and young people. I'm not talking children, I'm not talking teenagers, I'm talking 18 to 25-year-olds, predominantly. A lot of young people, in fact all young people, the same as everyone else, have been negatively affected by the pandemic. We've lost people, loved ones, friends, family. We've lost out on money, tuition fees, rent, when we're not even living there, part-time job opportunities in general. People with established careers are worried about financial income and are seeking financial aid. But young people who are trying to get onto the job market are having just as hard time. We've lost opportunities for socializing, for gaining skills, vocational work, things like driving. For me personally, having work experience, having internships, everything being online, these opportunities have diminished significantly. And we've lost time. I was 19, now I'm 21. That's a big gap in the growth of a person. And these are years that we'll never get back. So I think it's safe to say that young people have lost just as much as any other generation. And yet we're blamed. I've seen government-sponsored ads on social media, things like Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, specifically targeting and villainizing young people, young adults, students, older teenagers. But at the same time, I've seen newsreels of students literally fenced in to university accommodation like prisoners or animals. We've been told to stay, to go, feeling unwanted, estranged. You choose to either be with your family and put them at risk and miss out on social opportunity and educational opportunity, or you choose to be in your place of study with a select few friends, maybe housemates, but then you're worried about your family and you're estranged from them. If university students are so dangerous because of frequent travel and social interaction, why are they the last to get vaccinated? It's clear that in the government-mandated hierarchy of society, young adults are at the bottom of the list. I sincerely hope that in the not-so-distant future, schemes will be set up by the government, by councils, by educational institutions to help aid young people. We cannot be expected to achieve the same as our predecessors when there have been so many detriments. And these are unforeseen to everyone. Every single generation has suffered the consequence. But it's the villainization and the blame put on young adults that bothers me the most. The lack of help, the lack of empathy is astonishing. And I believe, and I know that others believe the same, it's encouraged a toxic generation gap. I wanted to share with you a personal insight into how my life has changed. I'm going to show you some clips from my first year and a half of university. Socializing, learning, having access to resources, excitement, hope for the future, all of these things were part of my life. I was excited to wake up every morning. I've always enjoyed school and been social and outgoing. University felt like I had arrived. It was a place to thrive and bloom and grow and find out more about myself and make lifelong friends and maybe even find love. I went clubbing. I was a performer, dancing. I went out for meals, tried new foods that I enjoyed. I traveled places I'd never been before and had experiences meeting new people from different backgrounds and being able to expand my world past my hometown. It sounds dramatic to say, but it was life-changing. And this is what I do now. I stare at my screen and I study and I eat the same food and I see the same people, and as much as I love my local area, I feel lucky in my home, I feel safe, and my family and I get on very well. It's a drastic change. It's harder to access essential resources for study, such as non-digitized books. I'm paying rent while I'm unable to return. I barely see my friends, and when I do, we can't even hug each other. There's little opportunity for exploration and growth of new things. Exciting opportunities. The only option seems to be developing inward-facing skills, things that are essentially domestic. Now don't get me wrong, the purpose of this video is not to just complain. As I said before, I'm more privileged than most and I recognize that, and I'm not unhappy with my life. But I can't help but feel sad at all the cancelled plans and missed opportunities I would have otherwise had. Physically, I'm missing out. While my body is young and healthy, relatively, I'm sat down at a desk every day. I occasionally go out for walks and I do a home workout, but it's not the same as going outside, running around, exploring, trying new sports. It's also mentally a strain, dealing with death and loneliness, distance from your loved ones. It's difficult to maintain a healthy work-life separation when the place where you work and the place where you relax are the same room. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and uncertain about the future. Now this video is not just to document the hardships that some young people are facing. Believe me, this is just scratching the surface. I want to start a conversation about how young people are portrayed in the news, particularly, and by the authorities. We must, as a collective, do everything we can independent of government policy and institutional measures which are costly, slow to implement, and often just not enough. I'm encouraging you all to start petitions and share them with each other. Help to share information and resources about different support networks for those who might need it. Above all, please check in on your friends regularly. Sometimes with the distance, we feel removed from each other, but it's important to know that when people are struggling, they need somebody to reach out to them. So please try and make extra effort to make sure that your friends are alright. And while we wait for official action to be taken, let's become a proactive generation. And remember, we are not alone if we stand together. That's so cheesy. I think it's fine to use terms like Karen and Boomer. Make sure that when you're actually talking to people of other generations, maybe just try and encourage an open and honest debate about this toxic generation gap, rather than just accusing each other. It's a shame that young people are having to take the blame at the moment, but we're not the only ones who are suffering, and we're not the only ones who are trying. So keep that in mind and let's all try to be nicer to each other. On that sentiment, I'd like to invite you all to share your experiences so far of the last year or two, especially if you're a young person. If you're a young person and you feel like you can tell your story, please do so in the comments. And if you're not a young person, then I'd invite you to also share your thoughts about this generation gap. Do you believe that it is getting worse? And do you believe that it is harmful? Do you agree that young people, from your perspective, are being villainized by news and the government? Or do you believe the opposite, that actually young people using terms like Karen and Boomer are villainizing older generations? I know that some groups of people feel resentful that we're having to sacrifice our youth for the health of older people, but in actual fact I don't think most young people have that attitude. I certainly want to protect the people I love just as much as anyone else. And that's all from me and my lecture. As I said, please use this space for positive action. I will be linking some resources in the description, a few articles that inspired me to write this. And like I said, we're not alone if we stand together. As cheesy and depressing as this has been, I hope you all stay happy and stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.